As you may have noticed recently, our record shops in Britain are full of LPs cut by such well-known American humorists as Shelley Newhart and Victor Beerglass. And they have all had audiences on their discs, and what is even more apparent, the audiences have also been on their side. Now, we in Britain, which, by the way, is that piece of land on the right-hand side of Ireland going up, have decided that, as usual, we would lead the way and have an audience completely unbiased in the... well, actually, we are recording this from the centre of London, some 50 yards below the famous Marble Arch. Well, actually, it's 51 yards below the Marble Arch. Directly below. In a cellar. And here are the audience filing in now. Thank you, Warder. The hub of Britain is London, and the hub of London is Whitehall. And in this hub, there's an organization grudgingly set up to deal with that necessary evil, the foreigner. Now, this organization is known somewhat originally as the Foreign Office. Representing Britain here, we have the cream of brains and breeding. Now, these highly trained and worldly characters deal with everything appertaining to foreign affairs, from, say, issuing the authority for a day trip without a passport to Ostend, to a big state occasion like welcoming with all pomp and ceremony a trade delegation from one of the world's great powers. My lords, ministers of the Crown, ambassadors, ministers with portfolios, and ministers without portfolios. It gives me great pleasure tonight to welcome here the representatives of that great ally of ours. And I refer, of course, to that wonderful country from across the Atlantic, the United States of... the United States of... thank you, Crowlers. America. I know we've had minor misunderstandings in the past, like the fight in the lobby this afternoon. But these things are bound to happen between two countries, such as ours, that only just speak the same language. I'm sure that your new president, Mr. Frank Sinatra... What, that young fellow with all the hair? Your president, Mr. Kennedy, will welcome this new trade pact which we are gathered here to discuss today. One thing no one will deny is the mutual trust between our two nations when money is at stake. We know exactly what you are thinking and doing. After all, every American city has a British consul in it. And we, in turn, are only too well aware of how much you trust us. And now, to the pact itself. Money. That is the crux of the whole business. But will we put the lust for hard cash before all else? Will we put profit before friendship? I ask you. Will we? I can see by the vigorous way you all nod your heads, gentlemen, that you agree with me. Give and take. That is what we must do. Give and take. And I stand here and swear that my government will fight to the death for the right to take all that you can get. We have come to respect each other for reasons which escape me for the moment. But your culture, which you have delighted us with in the past, for example, your great literary works, such as Lolita, Big Women, Little Women, Huckleberry Fun, the Kinsey Report, and there's great figures that have inspired us in the past, like Marilyn Mansfield, Al Capone, Senator McCarthy, and Tommy Manville. And all this has been a common bond, as has the link between our royalty and aristocracy, and your great titled families. To name but a few, I can call to mind Duke Ellington, Count Basie, and of course His Very Royal Highness Nat King Cole. And in conclusion, I would like to say to you, delegates of the nation, who pioneered the world's biggest rockets, welcome to Britain, gentlemen. British Railways, lifeline of our nation. No other country has anything quite like the British Railways. And on every station, to assist the passengers on their smooth, swift journey, there is a bookstore. And every bookstall is full of women's magazines. And in every woman's magazine, there is a true love story or special romantic article, usually written by a man. Here, from one of these magazines, is a feature by one of those romantic writers, Godfrey Nichols, about that great British institution, the British Railways. From that magic moment, when I first saw Victoria Station, I knew it was love at first sight. Oh, I'd seen other stations before. I remembered the dark, sultry seductiveness of King's Cross. Liverpool Street, all gay and windswept. Particularly Platform 10. Paddington, in whose torrid embrace I'd first realized I was a man. I'd had to pay full fare. But these were as nothing compared with the staggering glamour of Victoria. Breathlessly, I raced up the long escalator marked down and arrived at the top with my heart pounding furiously. I was anxiously looking for the Bristol train, and so were the British Railways. And then I saw my Victoria in all her delightful glory. I noticed her slim lines, her shiny, well-oiled bumpers, her waist. I'd never seen such a waist. Her refreshment room, everything that goes to make up a well-groomed, sophisticated station. And then I heard the dulcet voice of my beloved.
The next train leaving for platform 10 is already Newbury Bristol.
I rushed to the barrier with my ticket in my hand and my heart in my mouth. And the man there made a little hole in it. I thanked him wholeheartedly. Then I made my way to the refreshment bar, still with one eye on my beloved and the other on the price list. I joined the queue for the delicious nectar-like tea which one of my beloved handmaidens was pouring over the counter. She stopped pouring it over the counter and poured it into a cup. And said, "1 cup with or without sugar ducks." I chose one without sugar ducks. And went to the fire, which was blazing passionately in the grate, and sat beside an old gentleman with a dog stirring his tea. I'd never seen a dog stirring tea before. I went to my train and entered a compartment which was empty, except for a dear old lady with her suitcase in the luggage rack. I lifted the dear old lady down from the luggage rack. I had a feeling she was on the wrong train. "Excuse me," I said. "You're not going to Bath on this train, are you?" "No, dear," she replied. "I forgot me soap and flannel." I went to the window and looked round. I always do, you know, it's the way I'm built. And I looked out at my beloved Victoria. I realized what delights she had to offer me. I wanted to taste them all. I wanted to throw myself into the gay, wild abandon of the southern region. I was in love. I knew now that I had met my Waterloo. Well, one of the things that features most in the British way of life, I always think, is the garden fete. Now, every church, chapel, club, home and institution holds its annual fete. Thousands of them are held throughout the country, and every one of them is religiously reported in that other British institution, the local evening newspaper. Now, I'd like to read to you now a report from a local evening newspaper of a typical English garden fete. The annual garden fete, held in the grounds of the Vicarage of St. Adam Faith last Saturday, was this year attended by an even denser crowd than usual. The fete had its usual luck with the weather, and the lovely trees on the vicarage lawn afforded some slight shelter from the teeming rain which fairly hissed down in the early part of the afternoon, but which fortunately at tea time changed into a steady drizzle. The vicar introduced the opener of the fete, well-known local guide and scout mistress, the Honourable Agatha St. John Beamish. And speaking of her sterling work with the guides, commented that the dream of every vicar was to have a mistress like her living in the village. In reply, the Honourable Agatha asked everyone to give freely and spoke on the church roof. As she couldn't be heard up there, however, she came down and finished her talk on a platform decorated with a Union Jack and a vase of flowers. The platform was tastefully decorated too. She spoke of the need for reslating the church roof, saying that both she and the vicar could tell of the bad state of the roof as they'd been out on the tiles together the night before. After the speech, there was a charming ceremony when the opener was presented with a bouquet of flowers by a small boy with a rather unusual smell. The Honourable Agatha then declared the fete open and went to the first side store where she tried to knock coconuts down with the vicar. A new innovation was the dog show, which was held in the Brownie Hut. It was slightly marred, however, by a rather savage fight which broke out among the competitors, the Judge Squire Trelawney being rather badly bitten in the middle of it. Fortunately, all the dogs remained quiet throughout the entire fight. In the Scout Hut, the miniature fancy dress competition was won by Miss Ida Lovett. She wore the most miniature fancy dress. This was a popular win, as Miss Lovett is well known in scouting circles as Brown Owl. For obvious reasons, to wit, to whoop. Prominent among the sideshows were the young wives and their fancy goods, the roulette wheel, which was run and fixed by Monsieur Duval, whom it is reported the police are extremely interested in, and the Youth Club's rock and roll competition, which finished up in a blaze of glory when the sum of £10 was raised to the funds and the parish hall was raised to the ground. The skittles were under the auspices of Mr. Clapworthy, and the hidden treasure was under Mrs. Beamish. To sum up this most successful day, in the words of Miss Lovett, it was a fate worse than death. Rule Britannia, the Royal Navy. Could there be anything more British? It's said that every Englishman has salt water flowing in his veins. Other men have got blood in theirs, but the English salt water. The Royal Navy is renowned the world over and always has been, from the days of the great captains like Drake to the modern captains of our great aircraft carriers. At this very moment, on one of the great oceans of the world, there's sure to be a Royal Navy captain talking to his officers in that efficient and masterly manner, which is so typical of the senior service.
Well, gentlemen, I expect you're all wondering why I've called you into the wardroom this morning. Yes, you may smoke, yes, of course. I just received, I just remembered that I had a signal from the Admiralty the other day, which I think you ought to know about. It reads as follows. Damn it, I had it a minute ago. Number one, have you seen a piece of buff-coloured paper about with top secret marked on it? Ah, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. The signal reads as follows. Number one, pass me my glasses. No, you fool, not the ones with pink gin in them. My spectacles, you do. Yes, now, from Admiralty to Commanding Officer, Aircraft Carrier, HMS Bell-Bottom. Proceed immediately to rendezvous mid-Atlantic for NATO combined exercises. Now, I can't stress the seriousness of this whole shindig enough to you chaps. And it's up to you to show these foreign blighters, our allies, just how efficient the Royal Navy really is. And that means keenness, chaps. And I really mean keenness. Now, I know what you're all going to say, you blokes, that it's going to play absolute hell with the afternoon's cricket match, which was to be played on the flight deck this afternoon. But after all, this is the sort of sacrifice we have to make when we go to war with our American friends. No, Commander. I didn't mean we were going to war with our American friends. They're on our side, I think. Now, gentlemen, I want to detail you off for your respective jobs on this exercise. Now, you, Commander Air, are obviously in full command of the situation and naturally take complete control of all our aircraft. What's that? Well, you should know where they are, Commander. Don't ask me. Last time I saw them, they were all being taken down that great big hole in the deck. Well, I don't know where, Commander. Down in the cellar somewhere. Use your initiative, man. Go and look for them. Engineer officer? Everything all right with you, eh? What? Ship shape in Nelson fashion, eh? Good show. All stocked up with coal, are you? Oil? Good heavens. When did we change over? 1936. Did we really? Yeah, that's the trouble with the Admiralty. They don't tell you a thing, do they? Now, navigation officer. You all tip-top in your department, I trust? Yes. I do appreciate your difficulties. This damn flight deck makes the whole ship look square, doesn't it? Can't tell if you're coming or going. Well, actually, if you lean out of the bridge and look right down, you can see the sharp end sticking out from under the flight deck. What's that? You can't look down, it makes you giddy. Yeah. Now, medical officer. Medical officer! What's that? Not here? He's ill? What, again? He's never really been a fit man since we made that call at Marseille. Now, signals officer. What's that? What? You've just got a message? Congratulations, good chap. Well done, man. You got it 3 days ago? Yes, I suppose it was difficult to decode. Hello, it's from the Admiralty. To HMS Bell-Bottom, exercise cancelled, crisis in Afghanistan, American fleet recall. Well, chaps, it's all off. Jolly good. Get the cricket gear out and let's get down to the serious side of life.
For those of you who've not bothered to listen to the first half of the record, I did explain that we are recording this in a cellar deep in the heart of Mayfair. I'm only mentioning this because you may have noticed that in between each little piece of track, there is a blank bit with no sound on it. Now, this, I think you ought to know, comes about 1 in every 4 minutes. This is because our cellar is only some 10 feet or so from the Inner Circle Underground Railway. And there is a train due to pass by every 3 minutes. But as we have great experience in the punctuality of British railways, we are allowing 4 minutes. The stock exchange has for years played a part in the economic activities of our country. Brokers and investors eagerly peruse the columns of our financial press each day to see how the various companies are progressing. And one of the things which has the greatest bearing on the share prices is the chairman's annual report to the board of directors of some of our great business organizations. Well, gentlemen, once again, the time has come round for me to place before you the annual general report on the activities of our company. A company, I'm proud to say, built up on a reputation of quality, service, and a word that escapes me for the moment. Honesty. Now, generally speaking, our situation at the bank is, if I may be permitted to say so, a very interesting one. So interesting that a copy of our statement was found clutched in the hand of the local bank manager when he shot himself last Friday. But don't let it rest on your consciences. Mr. Prendergast was a born warrior. Now, in this report, I should first of all like to pay tribute to our very loyal staff, which we have sometimes working for us on the company. We have, as you know, some 20-odd men working for us. Unfortunately, We also have about 300 working against us. Of our whole factory, our delivery department is perhaps the most efficient section and would, I'm sure, be a credit to the entire organization if they only had something to deliver. But you can rest assured that they are keen. They still talk excitedly about the crate they had to deliver in 1957. True, they were on strike at the time and wouldn't touch it, but they still talk about it. We have had one or two new innovations over the past few months. The most popular one has possibly been the suggestion box. The contents of this box has made some very interesting reading, particularly the letters in response to a recent query of mine that in the case of redundancy coming along, we would welcome suggestions as to what we could do with our factory. By far the most interesting reply came from a member of the technical staff and was set out in complete detail right down to the last nut and bolt. Of course, whilst his suggestions were highly ingenious, they were completely impractical. One thing this factory can boast about, however, and I feel I must mention it in this report, are the excellent relationships between the employees and the management. It's a humbling thought that with all the labor unrest in the country today, we here have had very few labor problems at all. That is, of course, excepting the wildcat strike in February, the general walkout in July, and, of course, the tea break strike in September. I must admit that we achieved a little notoriety about the non-union man who was sent to Coventry by his workmates. Now, this story, I'm afraid, was rather distorted by the popular press, the truth of the matter being that this chap was actually sent to the city of Coventry by his mates, tied up in a potato sack. In passing, I should like to mention that unfortunate business about the personnel manager. I think we can put this down to normal high spirits of the younger apprentices. After all, the tar and feathers came off comparatively easily, and he hopes to be able to come out of hospital just after Easter. Now, the financial side. We have had our problems here, it must be admitted. Our cashier, Mr. Frobisher Jones, who had absolute free access to the cash side of the business, as you know, disappeared very suddenly a few weeks ago. You'll all be pleased to know, I'm sure, that today we received a postcard from him with a picture of a delightful holiday resort in South America. Scotland Yard have, of course, been informed, and so has Mrs. Frobisher Jones. And now we come to the part of the meeting I'm sure you've all been waiting with expectant anticipation. I refer, of course, to the dividends we shall be paying this year. Now, I can at least put your minds at rest on that point, gentlemen. You will not have to pay any income tax on this year's dividends. Indeed, there's a very good chance that the Inland Revenue will have to start paying you. And I leave you with the comforting thought that when you leave this room, you will be able to face the shareholders, confident that in this grand old country of ours, lynching is illegal. As for me, if any of you should want to contact me on any points of particular interest, my address will be, as from tomorrow, care of Mr. Frobisher Jones, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, South America. One of Britain's most admired bodies, apart from Mr. Anador's, is, of course, the police force. Whilst the CID and the Bobby on the beat are perhaps the most famous part of this respected force, another branch are those in charge of the wonderful police dogs. Now, they too help in the relentless fight against crime and have to be specially trained to have complete control over their canine assistants. Oh, good morning, P.C. Robinson. Have you ever worked with dogs before? You have? Good. Oh, Pekingese, eh? No, Robinson. Our doggies are a bit bigger than that. Now, this is Rover, the dog that you will work with. Robinson, come back. Robinson! Fetch him, Rover. Come on, boy, fetch him. Now, drop him. Drop him. Drop him. Good boy. You shouldn't have run like that, my lad. Rover's trained to grab at a running man. Let go, Rover, and come here. Here. Good dog. Don't be silly, Robinson. Of course it's not a wolf. Just a rather large Alsatian, that's all. Now, the first thing to do is to get to know your dog. Now, a good sniff round will show him you're friendly. Robinson, let him do the sniffing, not you. Now, come on, fondle him and let him know you're friends. Don't be silly, man, he won't bite you. Yes? Well, that means he likes you. He didn't spit it out, did he? Well, now, staunch the blood with your handkerchief, and let's get on with the lesson. Yeah, that's right. Now, you're friends, aren't you? Now, don't overdo it now. Put him down. Put him down. Rover, put him down. Now, put his lead on. On the dog, Robinson. Put yourself together, young man. Yeah, it's better. I want you to go for a little run round. Not so fast, there's no need to hurry. Not so fast. Rover, Robinson, come here. Now, walk round the room with Rover at your heel. I said walk, not sprint, and take your foot out of his mouth and stop fooling around. And come down from the top of that cupboard and get on with the lesson. He's not new to the work, you know. He's had 12 handlers already. In a week. Now, put this padded glove on and let him bite your hand. Go on, Rover, bite him. Good. Oh, man, you should have put the glove on your other hand. Now, we shall let Rover show you how he jumps at a man, knocks him to the ground, pins him by the shoulders, and grabs him by the throat. Just loosen your collar, Robinson. At him, Rover. Go on. That'll do, Rover. Rover. Good boy. Do as you're told. Never mind, Robinson. Better luck next time. In the meantime, I should just rush to the casualty ward, but don't let Rover know where you are, or he might try and bury you in the garden with the rest of his bones. Next recruit, please. One of the main things which make up the British male character is their national game of cricket. Every self-respecting Englishman has played, watched, or slept through that great national pastime. Every town, district, and village has its local cricket team, and every cricket team has its annual club dinner. And at every club dinner, there's a speech by some well-known personality from the great world of cricket. Mr. Chairman, gentlemen and players, it is, I assure you, a great pleasure and honour to be asked here this evening to speak on this occasion at your annual cricket club booze-up. Dinner. Yeah, I was asked to come by your captain and squire, Sir Lawrence Bumble and his lady. And I ask you, what man can refuse your squire's lady anything? I mean, after all, she never refuses us men anything, does she? When I think of Sir Lawrence, I always think he's a perfect captain. And his wife is the perfect vice captain. Now, I am, as you know, on the committee of the controlling board of our great game. And I refer, of course, to the MCC, the Marylebone County Council. Now, I sit on the board at Lord's. No, I don't mean I actually sit on a board. As a matter of fact, I usually sit in a deck chair. No, I mean I am one of the board at Lord's. Now, I can hear someone say, aren't we all? You see, I helped to form the rules of cricket, and I'm happy to tell you that this season there will be no change in the rules of our great game. After all, what's the point of changing rules which, to those of us who play for the game's sake, are as they stand perfectly unsatisfactory? Now, some people say that the rules are difficult to interpret. Poppycock, absolute poppycock, I say. The LBW law is one which some say is difficult to understand. Bold and actually perfectly simple to anyone of abnormal intelligence. Now, if the ball pitches in line with the stumps, without turning in from the... No. If the ball is going straight for the... and the batsman's leg obstructs the flight, that's to say, if the umpire is satisfied that the bowler has turned the... Except, of course, if he's a left-arm rounder. Let's take the stumping rule, shall we? if the wicket-keeper wants to help the batsman to a quick run-out, then he must actually break the wicket. Now, when I say break the wicket, I don't mean actually break it. I mean, if the ball is broken onto an unbroken wicket, which broke before the... And like I say, it's perfectly simple to anyone of abnormal intelligence. Now, this year, as we all know, we've had the Australians over here to fight us, to play us. And let us, with our fingers crossed, say the best team won. And since we've been beaten by the Australians, let us be magnanimous in our unlucky defeat and remember the great players of the past that they've sent us, like Sir Donald Hammond, Lou Howard, Lindsay Hatchett, and Dick Bentley. And let us in turn remember the great sportsmen we've sent them, like, who the devil have we sent? Oh yes, like Sir E.W. Swanton, and of course that great captain, Peter Ustinov. Now, before sitting down, I have been asked to present this year's club prizes to you. And the season's first prize goes to Mr. Arthur Polkinghorne, who had a fine season with an average of 74. Well batted, Mr. Polkinghorne. What's that? It's your bowling average? Oh, well done, anyway. Now, the batting prize goes to your squire and skipper, Sir Lance Bumble. Average score 7, top score 6. Very ingenious, Sir Lance. Finally, the captain's prize for the most sporty performance on and off the field goes to Miss Daphne Crimpet, your local scorer and baggage mistress. And during the close season, gentlemen, you can rest assured that your mistress will keep your bats oiled, your wickets safe, and your sporting equipment in good working order for next season. The British summer holiday has become an institution in itself. Its fame has spread through the world, and travel agents in this country are springing up everywhere. Holidaymakers of all nationalities flock here to join in one of those thousands of organized coach tours to the continent which only the British, with their flair for leadership, can really organize properly. British couriers are in great demand and can be heard every day at any of the great coach terminals addressing their coachload of voyagers as they return from their summer holidays in Europe. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as this 2-week trip round Europe, which we have all enjoyed together, comes to an end, I, as your courier and representative of Seymour Tours, would just like to say a few words to you all before making the customary tour round with the hat for leftover pesetas, francs, liras, kronas, pound, and of course any spare dollars which you may find cutting up your baggage. Well, it has been a jolly trip, hasn't it? It's a sobering thought that a coachload of human beings, all thrown together by chance, representing the citizens of 7 different countries, can pass a fortnight together and only have one really serious fight. Now, the tour has run smooth from the day we left London until our return here today at Southampton. Now, I know we was actually scheduled to finish up in Edinburgh, but that is just one of those little things that does happen from time to time. We just caught the wrong boat, that's all. Now, to recap on the 2 weeks. Now, the first went very smoothly. Now, I must say en passant, to use that well-known German expression, what a memorable experience it's been having the 2 young American children with us on this trip. Now, we have become quite attached to them with their merry little pranks. That episode when they cut the wire when we was all going up the funicular railway in the Swiss Alps, I feel must be put down to our spirits. I mean, after all, apart from 3 or 4 broken legs and a fractured collarbone, there was no damage done that $200,000 or $300,000 won't put right. Now, touching on the night we all spent together in the French prison, this was, I feel, partly due to our own behaviour at the customs barrier. Now, I'm sure in my own mind that the French authorities might have winked their eye at each of you bringing in a watch apiece from Switzerland, but when they couldn't hear themselves speaking for the loud ticking noises, what was coming from the coach baggage compartment, then I feel that they had a certain right on their side in insisting on a thorough search. Now, here, I think we would all like to pass a vote of thanks to Miss Bedworthy for efforts with the customs staff all through that night. Which finally resulted in us all being released the next morning. Sterling work, Miss Bedworthy, and congratulations on your study of some of the old-fashioned French customs. Now, Holland, a fairly uneventful trip, but great amusement was caused to us all, you may remember, when our dear little American children made a hole in the middle of the main dike on the Zuyder Zee. How we all laughed at the little stream of water as it trickled through. The disaster fund has been launched, and there are now 15,000 square miles of Holland underwater. Well, now we are home again, and I would like to take this opportunity of thanking you all for the very pleasant trip and for any gratuities which may be forthcoming. Of course, as for myself, I shall not be making this trip again. I have finally decided to take up a more sedentary occupation, and I'm proud to tell you that I have put my name down as volunteer for the first British rocket into outer space.